contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
The Federal Reserve this week basically announced quantitative easing to infinity. But my next guest says this is not an example of capitalism. It's corrupt capitalism. He is the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and his latest, Who Stole My Pension? How to Stop the Looting. Robert Kiyosaki, what an honor to have you back on the show at such a pivotal time. Nice to see you.
Well, no, I always gush love and admiration for you and Kitco because you guys have been, I don't know if it's telling the truth, but you're not lying to people. That's another way of saying it. You've been keeping people aware. So I thank you and Kitco, what you do.
We're trying to keep people woke here, Robert. That's right. And, it's thanks to having guests like you on. And I was excited to get your thoughts. I've been following all your Twitter action all week. You've been very vocal and very upset about what the Fed's been doing here. Let's talk about, what you've dubbed here as corrupt capitalism.
Well, it's I don't doubt the pandemic is real. I don't doubt that coronavirus is real. I don't doubt it's dangerous. I'm probably a target market for the coronavirus, simply because I've had pneumonia 3 times. I had malaria. I had a diving accident where I blew my lungs out. I embolized. So
Wow.
I am a candidate. So I'm just as concerned about the coronavirus, but I think it's a sleight of hand. It's called, in that book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, Edward Griffin wrote about the mandrake mechanism, where mandrake's the magician. And so what the magician does, he has everybody so afraid of this thing called a virus, which I say is real, as they steal your money and they steal your wealth. And I've been, Chicken Little, as you know, for years and years and years, advising people not to save money, but to save gold and silver, what I call God's money. And I've been Chicken Little for so long, I'm actually quite happy the virus is here because people are saying, I should have listened to you. And I said, yeah, you should have.
Well, we're gonna talk about gold in a second and what you're doing to protect yourself here, Robert. I know last time you said you were buying silver. Aren't you happy you bought it back then? Because now people can't find it.
Isn't that part of the fake? My book was also Fake Money before Who Stole My Pension. And before that was Conspiracy of the Rich. And before that was Prophecy, predicting the financial crash that came in 2016. But it didn't come till 2020. So I was off by 4 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, my concern is that there's the gold market's manipulated also. As you know, there's 3 markets. And then there's the futures, there's the paper, GLD and SLV, and then there's physical. So the price on the futures doesn't match the physical. Now, there isn't a wake-up call saying, well, who's messing with my gold and silver? So that's what I'm saying to people. It's all manipulated, so you've got to watch Kitco and listen to your
we actually, broke that story this morning, because I'm looking at the futures, I'm looking at the spot. Right before noon, there was a $45 discrepancy. I'm thinking, well, what's the real price here? And we saw what happened to silver last week. So on one hand, there's this huge silver shortage, but silver's having a good day today. But last week it got was plummeted. So where's that disconnect happening?
Well, as I wrote about my book, Fake, you have fake money, you have fake school teachers. They don't teach you anything about money. And you have fake assets. The biggest fake is the stock market. I mean, how can it go up 1,500 points in 5 seconds and then come down 1,000 points in 5 seconds? If that's not manipulation, wake up and smell the coffee. But as you and I know, which Kitco reports on, the real problem is in the repo market and the commercial paper market. That's where the real theft is taking place right now. And the average person is watching the stock market. And my friends call up and they said, you know what? I should have bought some gold and silver. Well, it's kind of nice to be Chicken Little and be validated finally. But these guys now can't find any gold and silver. So I pray for them tonight.
You also tweeted, Robert, that, the moves that we're seeing in gold today, at one point we were up $100, just shows, unfortunately, lack of confidence in leaders, in political leaders.
Well, people are finally waking up that you cannot trust our own government. I was a Marine pilot in Vietnam, and that's where I had my wake-up call. in 72. I said, "Que pasa? Why am I out here shooting innocent people? And who am I shooting them for? It's just like weapons of mass destruction. Where are they? You know, I mean, if people I agree with are like Gerald Salente, man, he says it better than I do. And Jim Rickards, by the way, Jim and I are writing a book together called The Ravens. It's How Do You See the Future? But these guys have been saying it for years. And Danielle, the good thing is, I think people, as they sit in quarantine, as they lose their jobs or homes or pensions, their businesses and all this, I think they're waking up that they're being screwed. They've been screwed. I think that's the message, Danielle, is the American public is finally waking up. It's not capitalism, it's corrupt capitalism or criminal capitalism. And all of these stimulus packages, as Rickard says, you know, they're not stimulus. They're just destroying everybody's economy. It's socialism for the rich as the poor and middle class lose their jobs and businesses and their savings and their pensions. This is criminal, what's happening. Now, that's the reason I write and I get so vehement about it, is that it's criminal what we're doing to our own people. It's criminal capitalism, not capitalism. So that's why I get so upset. There's no financial education in our schools. What does school teach you about money? The answer is nothing. You know, if I was a school teacher, I'd be telling kids to buy silver. It's $20. Buy it.
You'd be the coolest school teacher around, Robert. When you know, and you've been on a long time, as you mentioned, predicting and forecasting that, you know, the ultimate crash was coming. When you foresaw this in 2002, could you have ever imagined it to be this bad, though, a situation of this magnitude? Because I still can't fathom what's happening.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Danielle. You know, like, I knew it was coming, but I couldn't believe it actually quarantined people, take their jobs away. You know, this is martial law. This is a manufactured Great Depression when there was real unemployment. Now they have to manufacture unemployment. I mean, it's more frightening than I ever imagined. It's more dastardly, it's more deceptive, it's more criminal than I ever imagined. I'm not that I'm afraid, but I feel for the people who were duped, the people who really think it's about the virus, not the biggest cash heist going on behind their backs in the repo market, the commercial paper market, and the credit markets. They just can't see their money is being stolen via their money.
So for the people who didn't get into gold and silver yet and are looking at these prices, and every day you wake up and we're up tremendously, we're down tremendously, you know, what would you advise to do here? Should you wait till things even out a bit? Would you be buying here?
I agree with Jim Rickards. You know, he's a brilliant man. What he says is I agree with. It's not the price of gold. It's the number of ounces of gold and silver do you have. So I don't measure my wealth in dollars or you know, my gold and silver. I have thousands of ounces. You know, I don't even know how much I have. But I just keep acquiring it because, just as Jim says, is when you need it, you won't be able to buy it. And he says exactly as I say. The floating gold and silver supply is gone. People are hiding gold and silver like they hide toilet paper and guns right now. The problem is the poor and the middle class still have not got the message that gold and silver are God's money. Gold and silver have been here since the earth was formed. Your only counterparty is God, not the bank.
Robert, you also tweeted about something I wanted to learn more about, a proposal for a U.S. crypto dollar. Can you tell us more about what you know about this?
Well, all I know is what I saw. You know, Chris Fox puts up Nancy Pelosi's picture. But all it means to me is they go to crypto. It means the Federal Reserve Bank is sick and tired of Bitcoin taking their power away from them. So when it goes to crypto, it means more control over our lives via our money, but also less freedom. So as Jim Rickard says, they're taking away our freedoms one step at a time. So they want to track, you know, they don't like cash and they don't like gold because they can't control it. There's no serial numbers they can follow. But they can follow you and track your movements. Not that I'm a criminal, but they want to follow our movements and take our freedoms away by registering every crypto dollar, whatever they call it, and the central banks then control it. Remember this, the central banks, as many of your people, your contributors to Kitco say, is a criminal operation. They've been stealing our wealth for years. That's my concern. And everybody thinks they're wonderful people. The theft
Robert,
has been going on for years.
when does this get better?
Well,
How long is this road?
I think it's pretty good right now for me personally, but I was prepared for it. My concern, again, as we all know, is civil unrest. And I was at the gun shop yesterday, and people think I'm anti-guns. I'm a Marine. I got enough ammunition to stockpile Cuba, and I carry Class 3 weapons and full autos. You don't go to a gunfight with a Glock when you can carry a full auto. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. Being a Marine, I'm a pretty sick individual. But I think that's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, there's probably a 20% chance we're going to civil unrest, and that's why the National Guard is already out now, pretending to guard the toilet paper supplies.
It's very frightening times, Robert. And you mentioned Jim. We spoke to him last week. I know he's growing all his own veggies and fruits, so he's doing well wherever he is. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm doing my best to stay isolated, but I'm not stopping. You know, I'm not. It's not that I'm not afraid; is that I'm prepared. You know, I kind of have the Dirty Harry approach. You know, make my day. You come after me, I'm going to come after you, and that's what I wrote about. And by the way, the Twitter was taken down because I posted the real facts on coronavirus, the flu, diabetes, gunshots, and stuff like this. It's a ruse. I mean, I don't doubt it's real, but it's blown out of proportion by the media. It's a fake. It's a deception to steal our money. So that's all I'm saying. And so am I afraid? I'm afraid of my next door neighbor. That's who I'm afraid of. You know, if they don't have any money or they can't feed their kids, desperate people do desperate things. So I think you have to be prepared mentally. And just because you buy a Glock and you go and you shoot paper targets doesn't mean you're tactically ready for combat. There's a difference between shooting a paper target and going door to door.
Robert Kiyosaki, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching this edition of Kitco News. We'll have much more for you, so be sure to stay tuned.
Woo! Thank you guys for staying tuned in and listening to that. We're going to break it down a little bit. We're going to have Andre Little, Amir, calling in at some point, and we're going to dial into the conversation. He sent that video to me this morning, asked me to play it as a precursor to the conversation. So, Vincent, how you doing this morning, brother?
Oh, brother. Okay, how are you? I'm doing okay. I'm breathing. I'm alive. Life is good under this COVID-19 environment. What else can I say?
So what I want to try to do, and I try to create themes for the show because it gives a little structure, I think, to what we talk about. And I came up with this theme prior to Andre sending me the video, but I saw how it tied in, or how we can tie it in. And so I'd like us to keep this under consideration as we have this conversation, as we move on, because we're going to talk about the tragedy in Minnesota. We're going to revisit the incident, the racist incident in New York, in Central Park, where I'd like to have conversations about what's going on. I sent you something and I said, and I'm watching this, guys, and I want you to understand, I watch it differently than a lot of other people because of my background, right? My background in messaging, my background in marketing, my background in branding, right? This campaign is fluid, and it's always about branding. right? It's always about messaging. And we're clear now that on the right, we have Fox News that is the driver of the narrative for the Republican Party, and in particular, Donald Trump. And we know that on the left, we have CNN. Well, we have everybody else. We have CNN, we have NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC. All of them are driving and carrying the narrative for the Democratic Party. So, and in real time, they're doing polling, right? So they push a message out. They have think tanks. They push a message out, and they float it, and then they see how the people respond to it. They make calls to whatever their 500-600 people or so is, and they see how that message is going. If that message is what we call a dog, right, which means it's not going anywhere, they'll revise it. They'll come up with a new message. If that message seemed to have resonated, then they'll continue pushing that message and try to carry it into a 48 or 72 hour news cycle, right? So that's what's going on. So as you hear the different things or see the different images, all of it is intended on both sides. Do you agree, Vincent, that it's intended to manipulate you, to drive you into a specific way of thinking?
Yes, the message is it has a certain narrative, it has a set direction.
Right.
But what you also have to do is see, media is based upon this. Media news is based upon money, capitalism.
Right.
Capitalism is based upon how many people watch it. So what they will do is they will take a part of a message, and as they say in marketing, run up the flagpole to see who salutes.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Right.
And so so I want to continue to have this conversation. Understand, guys, what is the true soul of America? Right? Because they would have us to believe that they have our best interests at heart. So I want to have the conversation, whether we're talking about finances, whether we're talking about this election, we're talking about the media, whatever, all of it, right? We're talking about corporate America. What is the true soul of America? And here, what we've said, and I don't think that there's any dispute, was where we talked about the founding of America, the principles under which it was founded, the brutality, the rape, the murder, right, all of it. We talk about here on this show the corporation of white supremacy and how white supremacy rose, and it was through brutality and the continued brutality and mistreatment of people. You see evidence of how I think America views the majority of people by the policies that it set, and right now by the vulnerability of the marginalized during COVID-19, in particular, foundational Black Americans. So when we talk about what the soul of America is, we see it when we drive and we see veterans who are not being treated well by this country after risking their lives and serving to protect our freedoms. We see that our senior citizens, or as my brother used to call them, our seasoned citizens, we see that they don't have adequate health care, they don't have adequate finances to be able to live out their golden years. And so they're dealing with financial and food insecurities, housing insecurities. So all of these things that are going on, when we talk about the 99% and the 1%, the question that I want to continue to get us back to is, what is the true soul of America? Because as we move through this election, we have one guy who's currently in the White House that everybody agrees is a liar, is dangerous, is all of these things. They have no qualms with any of that, right? And he had a message that said, "Make America Great Again." And we dissected that message, and we realized that that message was, let's make America white again. But his opponent, the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party, has a message too. And his message is what? Restoring the soul of America. And so the question that I'm asking is, what are we restoring to? What is the true soul of America? So you got one guy, 170-plus-year-old white guy saying, let's make America white again. Well, he said make America great again, but Again, translation, Make America White Again. But then we got this other 70-plus-year-old white guy who's saying, I want to restore the soul of America. So, if you want to begin, Vincent, with the video that we played and talk about, because in talking
no,
about,
let's leave that for the financial experts who will talk to us later.
Okay.
Keep on point to where you're at. I kind of like that space.
Okay. And so now, what is the, when I say what, see, because
what is the soul of America?
What is the true soul? See, we've been taught what the soul of America is, right? Through misteachings in our schools and everywhere else, right? We've been mistaught, miseducated about the soul of America. I'm saying, what is the true soul of America? And you know a man by his deeds. You know a country, do you not, by her deeds. And so if we are to look, I'm sorry?
By her flag, her brand.
Right, by her brand. And so if we are to look at the deeds of this country, right, as laid out by all of its policies, so it's there in black and white for all of us to see. What is the true soul of America, Vincent?
Okay. Well, let's see. First, because once again, Eric's introductions always
let's see if we can. I'm going to try to
different...
take this sideline call. Let's see if we can take this call. Hello, caller? Hello, caller? Let's see if it connects. Caller? Nope. Vincent?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I don't. Hold on one more time. Hello, caller. Caller.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Eric.
All right.
How y'all doing?
Hold on, caller. All right. I think I have everybody on the line. So this is Amir. So we're gonna move. So we didn't get into what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna hold that.
Come back to that.
We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to it all. What the true soul of America is. Good morning, Amir. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. I'm fine. Alhamdulillah.
Good. So I'm gonna ask you. You sent me a video. I played it. It was about a 13-minute video. And there was some very interesting information in there that we'll talk about. But I want to frame it, Amir. Because what Mr. Kiyosaki talked about was the untrustworthiness of this government, right? So
right.
At the root, at the core of a lot of what's going on, whether you talk about the financial markets, you talked about the stock market, not being able to trust this government, talked about the coronavirus, what's happening with it, not being able to trust the government. That seems to be something that's going around a lot. And what I said prior to you calling in is that we have in the White House a guy that not many, well, that's not true because he has his base, right? But a lot of people would say at this point that Donald Trump is a very dangerous guy, possibly even unstable, right? That he's a liar. And then all of the other things, a xenophobe, a sexist, blah, blah, blah. We can go down the list of those things. And he ran under the moniker of Making America Great Again, and that has been translated by a lot of people as Make America White Again. But we also have running, what I said to Vincent, is we have his opponent, who is the presumptive Democratic nominee running, and he's running under the moniker of restoring the soul of America. And the question of the day, even under the banner of the video that you sent in, is what is the true soul of America as we lay out this financial conversation?
The true soul of America, as I learned as an older man, and it is different from what we were actually taught when we were children. You know, we were taught that, we have the opportunity to pursuit of happiness and basically a meritocracy where everyone has the ability to ascend to any height in business that they wanted to based on their merit, their talents, their education. But as we all know, a lot of those avenues have glass ceilings on them. And I just believe that the government itself, based on all the history that I've been studying in the last 5 years, is the problem. And I'm one of the first people to say to you, I love my country, but I don't trust my government. And based on all of the historical people who founded this country have the same sentiment. You know, being a patriot means that you protect your country from your government. So I am not an advocate. I'm not a big proponent of either one of these politicians, because they don't have anything to do with us being prosperous in our community. Anything. It has everything to do with what we do amongst ourselves. We can't no longer rely on these people to save us. And that's where I'm at with it. The true soul of America is what you're willing to do for yourself and equal to do for your brother to bring them up out of the situation that we're in. We can no longer depend on our government officials at all. That's my take on it.
Okay. And so now moving into the conversation and breaking down the video, where do you want to start?
Well, basically, Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, when you deal with somebody like Robert Kiyosaki, and the reason why I'm an advocate of his work is because he's one of the ones who came out of poverty, went through the military, and now he's extremely wealthy. And he's always, from the beginning of his career, has displayed and shared information that's contrary to what America purports. All right, and he's always have kept a open dialogue of how this country minimizes and robs the American people. So based on that, I just found it very, very unique that he spoke to some of the same exact things that I did back in February about how the government is using the coronavirus to cover up the things that they're doing in our financial markets. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's where I love the fact that he always put forth that the government is at the root of our demise. They're at the root of it. Okay. They truly are.
Okay, and so what was discussed in there, and there's a lot that I took away, and we talked about this last week, and I think I finally had a revelation, right, in really understanding the terms, and I appreciate that. I think it was Diane who said that she had gotten on the bus a lot earlier than I did, which is that folks who are able to, that it would not be to their detriment, I guess I would say, if they looked at gold and Mr. Kiyosaki said silver as a means of savings, right?
Right.
And then other vehicles, but understanding them, because he was, he was also talking about the stock market and such as vehicles of investing, but understanding them. And I think that is the other thing, right? To understand them all, and then to understand your circumstances and what works best for you as an individual.
Right. And see, what he spoke to was how if you're paying attention, if you're a person, and see, here's the thing: most of us in our community are not active investors. Right? That's one of the main proponents of building wealth, and we are not active investors, most of us. Right? I would say more than 60% of our community are not active investors. So for the people who are and watching the stock market, they'll watch how it crashed and all of a sudden mysteriously came back because of the manipulation of our Federal Reserve, okay, and the government. That's the only reason that market has returned. But what the people don't realize is, and this is what he pointed out, how can the futures market, the stock market, and the physical gold market be on different levels at the same time if it's not being manipulated? And that's what he spoke directly to, is speaking specifically about gold and silver.
That's a very easy understanding if you understand the stock market.
It's being manipulated, is what he said, and what's happening.
Well,
that's what's happening.
All markets are being manipulated. So that's nothing new. Why do you think the FTC actually reports certain people with every move that they make in terms of dealing with the market, stock, or any transaction of wealth? Why do you think that we actually have laws in place? And the most prevalent one was put together by Kennedy, outlawing everything that he did to make money. So, yeah, the markets are manipulated, constantly manipulated. They're manipulated by the brokers because the brokers basically get the people who have very little interest and understanding in the product that they're investing in. They're manipulated by the products who want these people money and basically inflate their capital and stock and income structure. They're manipulated, constantly manipulated. Why do you think they always say, let the buyer beware?
Right, but see, the part that I'm specifically interested in is educating our community on the markets that are completely is hard, very hard to manipulate. Is physical gold. When a physical silver.
That's the reason we outlaw gold as the actual currency because of its level of being manipulated. It was being manipulated by the Russians, the Chinese, the Japanese, all against to deflate the American market system because it was backed by gold.
So when it's backed by gold, you shouldn't. You can't manipulate the market because it's based on the value. You can't do that. That's the reason why they took us off the gold standard, because they could not manipulate the market. The reason for
I don't want to get into a debate. I don't want to, Vincent. I don't want to get into a debate.
Okay, but we're not going to get into that.
I want to educate the people, right? I don't want to get into a back and forth. I just want to educate the people on information. That's all.
So based on the charts,
right,
based on the actual facts,
right,
that Robert Kiyosaki and the young lady from Kitco showed, that the futures market and the ETF market does not match the physical market, which means that the physical market shows people who actually purchase the physical item, the physical asset,
right,
did not match those futures. So those futures in the stock market are artificially being manipulated, not the physical market. So that's what the reason for him making the whole point, the whole video was based on the fact that the government is our problem because of how they manipulate the market and how they steal from the middle class. And this is what's happening. The rich got a bailout. The poor got a handout.
So what I'll say is
and the middle class
disagree.
And the middle class just got left out.
Vincent, Vincent, I want to ask you a question. Do you disagree that there is market manipulation?
No, I don't disagree.
Okay. Then we'll stay on that point. Go ahead.
However,
right,
what I'm saying, and he keeps going around in the same circle where he says one point and then he
all right, Vincent. So I
just
wanted to answer to that one question because we're talking about manipulation of markets and understand. So I just want to get on the points that we can agree on. So we agree that there is manipulation of markets. Go ahead, Andre.
Yes, it's absolutely manipulation. And if you paid attention last year, right? Several traders at the desks of J.P. Morgan Chase were arrested. Over three to five of them were arrested and sentenced to artificial manipulation of the market,
and so
of the ETF market.
Right, and so what he was talking about, and what I found to be intriguing, I guess is the word I was really looking for, is that in the middle of this, and I'm keeping an arm's length from the conspiracy theorists with regard to COVID-19, and I heard Mr. Kiyosaki continue to say, I believe that the virus is real. I believe the virus is real, but because of the lack of trust of the government, right? Wait, who was it that said, Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So here we have a crisis. And if you have, so I'm going to ask you this question, Vincent. So in the middle of this crisis, which I don't believe is a fake crisis, right? Almost 100,000 Americans dead. Many of my friends, personally. But in the middle of this, you still have, and this is why I want to get back to what is the true soul of America, because we would want to believe that our government would be locked arms with us fighting this thing. But what I believe is, as they see, as some nefarious people see the confusion, the chaos, the fear, all these things going on, that they are looking to take advantage and are in fact taking advantage of people in this climate.
Absolutely.
And that's what
Absolutely.
and that's what Dr. Kiyosaki was talking about. So I just want to spend some time talking about how people can be taken advantage of and what they ought to be looking out for in terms of protecting themselves.
Well, here is the big thing. And let me state that it's not the government that is corrupt, okay? It's the people who manipulate the government. And all of that basically comes by, and where we get into all of these problems and where we are today centers upon one word: greed.
Right. And
That's
you know what?
all.
And so let me just rewind what Vincent said. And so I agree with you in principle, Vincent. So what Vincent is saying is that gun that's laying there on the counter didn't kill somebody. It's the person who picked the gun up and shot it that killed the person, right? And so when we say the government is made up of people. So the government in of itself is not corrupt. It is the people who are installed in our government who are corrupt. So I agree with that.
In certain positions, because not every person in the government is corrupt or is compromised.
Well, so here's where I'll have some disagreement with that, right? So it's kind of like this, and I say the same thing about the police department. When people say, well, they're good cops. And I'm saying to and I'm saying this, having had family, having had brothers, currently having family who are part of law enforcement. And my conversation with them always was, you know the bad cops, don't you? You know the ones who are face planting people, don't you? And you don't say anything. You go to work and you work 20, 30, 25 years in the police department. And did you ever turn that person in? And so we want to look and say,
you have a level of culpability.
Right, there you go. And so I'm saying that let me finish the point that I'm making. So I'm saying that we wouldn't have these corrupt people in there if there weren't other people who were remaining silent. And so I'm saying that their silence is complicity. And so they too, by the nature of their silence, are somewhat corrupt.
And I agree. If you agree with the point that you know that there are bad, okay, instead of cop, let's look at people of color who are bad, right, who are lurking in the shadows, who are doing illegal and elusive things.
Right.
We know them, right?
Right.
Do we turn them in?
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. So
then we also have a level of culpability in their actions.
So we're not. So I want to move. So we're not disputing that. So okay. I'm saying that so when you say some people aren't, I'm saying no, there are different levels, right? Certainly, but I'm saying that the corruption is widespread. Otherwise, we wouldn't have those people there. So
correct.
Now we
agree with that,
right? So now with again, the soul of America, right? So this is what we're getting to, right? So this is what exists, and now we have this pandemic. You have people dying. You have people panicking. You have this, businesses shutting down, financial insecurity run amok, and you have these people who are installed within our government not looking out for our best interest.
Correct.
Right. So I'm just trying to make sure that we lay in there.
So if we want to go back to your first question that you asked me before you took on the call, the soul of America.
Right.
Okay. The soul of America, in my opinion, is based upon the actual principles and the foundings of America: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's ingrained in our Constitution. What has differed from the pure nature of the soul of America is what we discussed earlier. Because for some people to consider life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness actually infringe upon their neighbor's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the biggest thing that makes them infringe upon that is greed. Constant greed. We imprison our brothers for greed. We kill someone for greed. We lie, cheat, and steal so that we can get just 1/4 of an ounce closer to the wealth we desire.
Right. See, I'd like to, and I want you to weigh in again, Amir, on what you believe the soul of America is, because I think that we have to come to some common understanding, right? Maybe we can't, but I think that we try to. I look and say the soul of America is its people, right? It's people. That's the soul. That's the heart and soul. It's people. And I go back to Dr. Wright, who says so eloquently that we are not communal thinkers, right? We're independent, selfish people. And so the soul of America is selfish by nature, and its selfishness played itself out, in brutal ways, right? And individuals who had the power, right, to take their selfish desires and impose them on people, and we see it now. We see whether we're talking about the fact that folks say, "Hey, listen, there is a pandemic," and Mr. Kiyosaki said, "Yeah, I believe that there is a virus out here and everything." So, okay, if you follow the science that says that it spreads this way, you have selfish people who want to continue to walk out without a mask and stand in your face, and like I told you before, I had to block listen to the show because when I pointed out that somebody had walked up to me in a store and they had their mask down, I told them to pull it up. What that person said to me was, if I saw you in a store, I'd confront you without a mask on. I'm saying to myself, really? Like where does that come from? Where does that come from that you would seek me out simply to impose your will on me? And that is the soul of America.
Well, you're looking in terms of a pathological definition of the soul of America. Now, what you were talking about, the soul of America being a very selfish, but see, that pendulum swings to the negative when that selfishness means that you are now living out your selfish desires at the peril of someone else, or taking it by force or other manipulation.
Well, isn't that what we're doing? So when we talk about...
Hold on. 2 seconds.
Yes.
That mechanic criminally is called rape, robbery, and pillaging.
No doubt. And so what Mr. Kiyosaki said, and what it seems that Amir is saying, is that there's pillaging going on now.
well, let's look at the actual gentleman and the subject of the video. I mean, he is a wealthy man, no doubt, but his wealth was not through what he's teaching people about wealth. He got his wealth from everybody buying his books.
Well, I don't know what point that matters.
Believe me, I researched it. Rich Dad Poor Dad is still a pretty good seller.
No, but that's okay. So you have professors who make a tremendous amount of their money on selling their books, right? I mean, my daughter's in college. I mean, we were paying $300 for some of those books, and so those professors make a lot of money selling those books. I don't understand the point.
See, the problem that we have is that when the number one selling book transitions into a cult, we've been dealing with that with Scientology. It started off with Ron L. Hubbard's book.
So my question is this: what is it that specifically that Robert Kiyosaki said in that video that isn't true?
That's a good question. I want to hear this.
I'm not trying to get it. See those kind of comments. But I mean, see those kind of comments, right, lead into these debates, right? Like
But
it
you
was
asked
an
the question.
unnecessary.
Did you ask
But
the
it was
question?
but wait, I
Well,
asked the
if
question.
he
Wait,
asked the
stop,
question,
please.
allow me
It
the
was an
opportunity to
unnecessary
answer it.
comment. I asked the question, and all that we had to do is wait for the question. Yeah, I really need you guys to stop this. It's ridiculous.
I'm just waiting.
Right, dude, you could have. Well, okay, I think you understand my point. So my question is, what is it? Because for the people who listen to it, we took the time and played a 13-minute video. And by the way, I want to say we don't endorse it. We played it, but we played it so that we can dissect it, right? And I want to earnestly do that. And so I'm saying if we're discussing it, and there's some points that that we need to highlight and say, hey, wait a minute, this was questionable, then I want to know what those points are. Because I laid out the things that I think he said that made sense, right? That he talked about. What did he say? He said, "Hey, listen, if I was at one point he said we're not being taught finance in school." I agree with that point. He also said, "Hey, listen, if I was a teacher, I'd be telling them to buy silver." I agree with that, right? I don't disagree with that. So I'm not trying to tear the guy down. I'm looking and saying here are some great points that he made. He talked about how our government, or the people, as you said, Vincent, within our government who work surreptitiously against our interests. I agree with that. So what I'm saying is, if there's some specific points, without disparaging the guy in the sell of his books, right? I'm saying let's talk about those things where you may have a disagreement.
Okay, where I have a disagreement is this. I don't know what school he's been going to, but I was in finance, even to the point of doing it in college and undergrad. So that part is not true. The other part is that, gold and silver are commodities to invest in, but they're not the be-all, do-all commodities to invest in.
No, I don't think he said that, though.
Okay,
he talked about, wait. See, I don't want to put things on him that he didn't say.
Okay.
He didn't say that. He didn't say gold and silver are the be-all commodities to invest in. And in fact, he wasn't even talking about investing. He was talking about saving. So that's what I'm saying. I want to give people accurate information, right? And so he never said it was the be all. He talked about the stock market as well. But then he talked about being concerned about the stock market because it is manipulated. But he didn't say that you should stay away from it. I think he was just saying you need to understand it. Right? When you get ready to take your money and plop it down in the stock market, you need to be clear that there are people who are behind the curtain pushing and pulling on those levers. I think that's what he was saying.
But that's what we discussed earlier.
And he emphasized. Go ahead.
That's what we discussed earlier. Even gold and other commodities, precious metals, are those stocks, and that is also easily manipulated.
Right. No, he said that too. That's what I'm saying. He said that as well. So I'm trying to get to the point.
Let me be clear on what his point was. His point was, if you remember the statement of Chicken Little, he was saying that he has been telling people for years, right? He predicted in his book 4 years in 2016 that this crash was coming. And because these people are very knowledgeable about our economics, and they're very knowledgeable about historical, our monetary system historically, but by reading people's books like his, I was also able to see the stock market crashing 3 years before it happened. Wait a minute. Let me just make the point, because what he said that's not being communicated is he was telling people then to start saving gold and silver, not as an asset but as money, because he understood that the other items like the stock market and the futures are manipulated in a way that if you depend solely on those things without physical assets, it's going to deplete your wealth. And that's exactly what he was saying.
Okay,
that's how he was able to predict
got it.
amongst other people.
No, I got it. Right.
We've already been to that dance, so I'm not going to revisit that. But go ahead, Eric.
Right. So, I'm not promoting his book. I'm not promoting him. I think I went to one of his seminars once, years and years ago. But again, is there any disadvantage to heeding that advice and saying, look, we understand what the true soul of America is. We understand the surreptitious nature of those who are within our governments or our government and those who are in powers of influence in areas where they could manipulate these things, right? And so if I have my wealth there,
whoever's doing that moving, could you mute your mic?
Yeah. So thank you. So if we're understanding the very nature that exists in the markets or places where we have our money, and I think this is what he was saying. Just beware. Be aware of where your money is, who's in control, who can negatively affect you, and then hedge yourself. And I think he's saying, and so you want to look at these ways of hedging yourself to ensure that you can mitigate the damage.
Yeah, but most people would call that a diversified portfolio.
Okay, is there something wrong with that though?
There is nothing wrong with that.
Right. And so if we want to whittle it down and say that that's what he was saying in the end, that we need to diversify our portfolio in this particular, please mute your phone, that we need to diversify our portfolio in these specific ways so that we protect ourselves in the event that there is a calamity. Now,
no disagreement with that.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So when I listen to it,
Grandma used to say you never put all your eggs in one basket.
Hey, listen, I had some money under my mattress, some in a jar, some in the safe. You know,
some in the coffee can.
Some in the coffee can. Listen, you broke into my house. You had to go a bunch of places to get all my money. And so I think that, now he's talking about doing it differently, right? More sophisticated than that. But he's saying, hey, put it in different places.
Eric, are you moving furniture or something?
That's not me. I don't know what that noise is. I don't know what it is, but it's distracting to the listeners of the show.
But I'll mute it. But let me ask you a question, Eric.
Yep.
If you can agree that the weakest point of our community is our level of financial literacy, but you say you don't promote reading his book, give me two people who have a solution to help our people currently who you do promote reading their book.
Well, no. Hear what I said. Hear what I said to you, right? Because I don't do an infomercial for Mr. Kiyosaki. I'm sure if I went into Barnes & Noble, there are probably 5 or 6 rows of economists and other people, right, that have writings. So I'm not gonna just pull his book out and say you should follow this one guy. Now, I'm not the financial literacy guy, right? So I brought you on the show to talk about this, and you've chosen to mention that book, and so that's fine. Right. I'm simply saying it is not the only book. I do not want to give the impression to people that it is the only book. It is one, certainly.
Nobody ever says only.
So what I'm saying to you is this.
We're not talking about only.
Right. So what I'm saying, Amir, is this. So people could read that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't read it. Read it. But I'm saying go read other things too.
And what he's saying is that he's not endorsing it.
That's right. I want to be clear about that.
List of books to read.
And the reason I want to say that is because we let off the show. But I want to be clear about it because we led the show off with a 13-minute video. And so there are some people who would say, hey, I guess Eric is supporting that guy. No, I'm not. I just played the video.
Why wouldn't you?
I just answered the question for you.
I have a question. Right.
I just answered
who do you support that supports educating our people about financial literacy?
So now, listen. So I don't want to have an argument. I don't want to have a debate about endorsing Mr. Kiyosaki now.
No, right? I'm saying anybody.
So what I'm saying,
you want to teach people about financial literacy, why are you going after Eric about him not endorsing or supporting the same guy that you do?
I'm saying God bless you that you support him.
Why don't you just say that if he don't support him, he ain't black?
No.
No,
Listen,
no.
I don't.
So,
Vincent,
so
please
Vincent,
stop.
please.
So,
I'm talking about
right. So all
listen.
listen.
Any book that you've read any book, if not Robert Kiyosaki, because most of us as children growing up read his book, but didn't get
Right.
the primary
No.
book. Wait,
true.
Vincent. You're Vincent. I'm making a statement that I know most of the people that I know read that
Oh,
book.
most of the people you
This
know.
first-
That's not what you
Okay,
said
right, 'cause
first. You
most of the people
said
I know
most of
read
the
that book.
people read it.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is, in the last 5 years, have you read any financial literacy books that you do promote?
Well, first, let me say this. I did read his book, and you know what his book is? It's a copy of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Okay? So that's the first point. Second point is that, I have read, in fact, still read a lot of them. But the most books that I find really, really incredible to read are the reports by the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Deposit and Insurance Corporation, and the the Federal Consumer Corporation. Those are the books that I find very, very much in need of reading. Now, if I want to find anything on financial trends, then I'll read the news, because most of these people, after they've made their power moves, they like to get the press about it for everybody who's catching it late.
So here's the question I want to ask, right? Because again, you and I have a different approach, Vincent, obviously, right? And no matter how much I try to, I guess it just doesn't. So I just Googled. I just literally Googled authors of financial literacy books, right? And so you have Carl Richards, right?
Dave Ramsey.
You have So Vincent. Okay. So you have Carl Richards. You have Jason. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Zweig. You have Chad Foster. You have Sharon Lecter. You have Rick Edelman. Right, and then there are a host of other ones. And so what I'm saying is this: no, I haven't read any of those. But are you saying that none of those are valid?
No, I'm saying that they have valid
No, I'm not
points.
asking you. I'm asking. I'm asking Amir. Yeah.
No. So what I never say is what I never say. So please don't say.
No, I asked you a
I'm not
question. I
saying
didn't
that.
say
I'm
you
not
said
saying
it.
that.
I said,
what
are
I'm
you...
saying to you is I'm saying to you is this. This is what I'm saying to you. There is a number of financial analysts and teachers who read books, all right, who our community could have benefited from had they read these books any time in the last 20 years.
Right.
A lot of these people have been around for a long time, and what we're seeing is a repetitious cycle that has happened for thousands of years. And what I'm saying to you is I am directly promoting any of these people's books, Jim Rickards, Peter Schiff, Robert Kiyosaki, Mike Maloney, because all of these people were accurate. Wait a minute, were accurate in their predictions, in their monetary practices about teaching people to save the one thing that the whole world out of the last 3,000 years returned to once the system collapsed from using.
I got it, Amir.
Okay,
so
those 6 or 7 people. Now, all I'm saying to you is, if we're not listening and following history, right, as to not repeat the same mistakes. I'm not promoting someone's book who's not teaching us not to make those same mistakes.
Got it.
Because we're doing it.
Okay, well, real quick question. But all of those people you mentioned, they plagiarized the most famous book written in 1926.
I don't want to get into that. Right.
George Clayton.
I don't want to get into that. Right.
He wrote The Richest Man in Babylon.
I'm going to keep cutting you off because I don't want to get into that. So what I want to do is say, you know what? And that's great. So, and all my job here, Amir, and the thing that I'm trying to do is say, you know what? This is Amir's perspective based on what he's read and what he's experienced. But there's a vast world out there. So after we do this segment and you've heard Amir and his perspective based on what he read and what he experiences personally, as well as the people who follow you, like the gentleman you had call in on the show last week. After you do that, audience, go do more research. That's what I'm saying to them. And that's why I said to you, I am not saying this is the path to go. I'm saying this is one, and here's why we've given it 45 minutes of the show, right? But now after this, go do some more research. I don't ever want to be at a point where I say, here's it, close the book, we're done. I'm not going to do that. And that's why I said I
agree with you with
right.
that, Eric.
And that's why I say I don't endorse him.
But this is not based on Amir's opinion. Everything I'm sharing with you is
I'm not
based
trying
on
to get
history.
into that with you either. I'm not saying it. What I'm saying is this: that right now you're on the line, right? And you're giving your information, and no matter how brilliant it is still limited. Because you haven't read every book. You haven't talked to every economist. You haven't done all of that. So I want to say, and I'm not saying it in a disparaging way, I am simply saying that your information, whatever it is you have, is still limited. And there's other things. And as it unfolds for Amir, you share it with other people. But I'm saying don't limit their ability to have it unfold for them by reading other books. Don't have them wait and say, well, let me see what Amir says next, or let me see what Robert Kiyosaki says next, or let me see what this other person says next. I want them to be intellectually curious and go and find the next thing. And that's all I'm saying. I don't want to limit it. I don't want to limit it. That's it. But I think it's great information. I think it's fantastic information. I got the phone ringing. I'm afraid. Farrakhan, this is you calling. Call on my line. I can answer my line. If you call on the other one, I'm afraid I'm going to hang up on everybody and we're going to lose the flow of the conversation. And then, Che Coulter, you have my phone number too. So call on my phone. I haven't been able to figure this other thing out yet.
And please, everybody go to GoFundMe, Eric Dawson's new phone line.
Oh, no, I got another phone line, but I don't want to use that because I'm using it for a business. So I'm trying not to use the other one. But yeah, Farrakhan and Che, please call on my personal line. But anyway, I think that this has been a good conversation. I got to tell you, I got some stuff out of the video. I got some stuff, right? And I agree. We shouldn't be trusting the government with the keys to our savings, or as Vincent says, and I'll correct myself. Shouldn't trust those who are installed or elected within our government or in influential positions where their thumb is on a scale that could adversely impact our financial stability. We should.
And that is the most politically correct statement I've ever heard you say.
So Amir, listen, man. I think that was a great. I personally think it was a good video, right? To share. It opened up a whole lot of stuff. It provoked a lot of conversation about it. And I think, again, at the end, I am of the belief, though I think people should look and ultimately go and talk to your financial advisor. But halfway trust him or her too. Right? But anyway, yeah, I'm telling you, right? Because, but at the end of the day, we should be looking, I think we can all agree to this. We should be looking for the most secure way to invest our money and to save our money, whatever that is. And so the search to find it and to agree on it continues. But it should be about that. It shouldn't just be about saying, hey, listen, somebody told me one time I should take all my money and put it in the bank, so that's what I'm going to do. Or somebody told me that I should put my money in the stock market, so that's what I'm going to do. Or somebody told me that I should do this, so that's what I'm going to do. Be intellectually curious and figure it out. Brother Amir, I don't know if he's still on the line. I want to thank you, man, for sharing that. Do you have any parting words for our listeners, viewers? Is he off?
He may be.
Okay, he may be off the line. So then we're gonna move on to
See if you can get I was dying to hear what he wanted to say.
You want me to? Well, we'll see if he'll call. He can call in. So listen, I put up some. Well, let's talk about what's going on in Minnesota. You go ahead, and then I put a post on my Facebook page. Oh, wait, here's Farrakhan. Let's take the call, and then we'll talk about Minnesota. Go, Farrakhan. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. I just want to say, Vincent, I just woke up, brother. I done missed the whole segment of the show. So when I talk about now, what I wanted to say as a person, we've said it before. We've had it been said in the threads. We're gonna have to figure out how to do this segment with less attention or something, because when I did click in at about 11:01, let me tell you, it was so overwhelming. It was like, hit the pause or stop or shut down, because you couldn't understand anything. So you guys are gonna definitely have to figure out how to do this segment, which I guess it brings a lot of tension or something, together a little better. Because I'm telling you, as the outsider, just listening.
Right. So I mean, Vincent. We'll talk about it, because maybe I just have to have Andre on without Vincent, because I think that I want him to offer some stuff, but I don't want to offer it in a contentious way. But what was your other point, Farrakhan?
It was just that, and I think that's actually what I was like when I hit the button to call, and then I realized I knew I was calling the wrong number, right? So we're gonna get you, if forget about financial literacy books, we're gonna get you a telephone literacy connection or something. So we gotta figure it out.
So I want to listen. I don't want to belabor this. I don't want to belabor it, right? So Vincent, hold. I want to move on and talk about what's going on in Minnesota. That's what I want to talk about.
To that, I do want to say one thing. Yep. And we were talking about the Charlemagne interview yesterday, and Joe Biden, when he says to someone like Charlemagne, if you don't understand why to vote for me over Trump, you're not black. And I realize what we always say on the show, and it's true. Charlemagne isn't black, right? And that's why he was questioning him in the manner in which he was. Because we say that black to them means the commodity to their wealth.
Right.
A man like Charlemagne is worth $10 million.
Right.
He's not a commodity to their wealth anymore. Right? When you get to a point where you can question, like, this is why they wanted us to be state slaves. Because they knew that if they gave us any independence, then we weren't subject to them. So
this is why
what he's actually saying was, I'm talking to those who are subject to me, who believe that my political position of presidency, if I get it, matters in their life, even though we know it doesn't. So for the people like ourselves who may not have $10 million, I ain't got $10 million, I wish I did, but I know enough, I'm independent enough that I don't believe that this guy that I vote in is changing Farrakhan's life like that.
Well, let me, if I could add to one of the statements that you made. Not wanting us to stay slaves, submissive, or oppressed has always been the process. But one of the biggest ways that they have done that is keeping us uneducated. Don't get me wrong. I love the simple fact that Amir wants to educate black people on wealth, and I'm all for that, especially since, I went to school and majored in wealth management, financing, and business. But see, the thing is this: if they keep us ignorant in terms of wealth, if they keep us ignorant in terms of the law, if they keep us ignorant in terms of our civil rights and abilities, they keep us oppressed and controlled.
Right.
And that's the whole issue.
Right. So I still want to get to Minnesota. You have, and then there's a post that I put up regarding what's going on in Minnesota, and I couldn't believe the backlash that I got. Like, I put the post up, and then I went to go do something, and when I came back, there was some like fiery comments, and this is what I said. I said, black folks are all in their feelings about the racism they've seen over the past days. But at the same time, they're preparing themselves to vote a racist in as president. Right?
Great statement.
Now,
Great statement.
right? Now, you see, and literally, when I tell you, you got to go read the comments that came into there. And those comments, listen, guys, I'm going to try to take this call. If it disconnects, please, both of you guys call back. Hello, caller?
Yeah, we got disconnected, Eric. I'm sorry.
Oh, we've moved on because I didn't know where you were. But
Oh yeah, I just put it on mute.
all right. Did you have any hold on.
We'll just have the show without Eric. Go ahead, Eric.
No. I'm all right.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
So Amir, we'd moved on, but since you did call back, I'm going to give you an opportunity to give a closing statement or advice or something, and then we're going to finish talking about what we were talking about now.
Okay, no problem. I'm just. There's a reason. I heard Vincent say, and I appreciate that he understands that my basis is to try to and want to help educate our community, right? And that's truly what I want to do.
Okay.
Over the last 57 books that I've read in the last 5 years have put me in a place that I know the average person is not there. I understand that.
Okay.
But my passion to do what I'm doing, right? My passion to do what I'm doing has not changed.
Okay.
All I'm saying is there's a reason why gold and silver has
Okay, I just want to get, because we moved on. I'm just trying to give you a...
This is a closing statement.
Go ahead.
I want you to understand it. There's a reason why after 5,000 years, gold and silver has been money that less than 1% of the population of the world owns it right now. There's a reason for that. And the government, the people that are in power, right, specifically and purposely put these different narratives in place to draw you away from that. All right? So in closing, I'm going to say this. In group, I see us in our community post on our pages and on our tongues about Black Wall Street. But we cannot return to Black Wall Street without the correct mindset first and real group economics. That's what we need, the correct mindset and group economics to return to that level of success in our community. Without it, we're doomed.
All right. Thanks for the call, brother. I'll see you next week.
Peace.
So, the comment that I made, Farrakhan, on my page, I think it was real to people, and they didn't want to deal with the realness of it, right? Because there's a lot of fake outrage, right? People have become conditioned to when a black man is shot and killed in the street, what do? Like reactionary. We go to Twitter, we go to Facebook, right? And we show our outrage. Or if somebody gonna burn some shit down, maybe we go do that and then loot and take a flat screen TV on our way out, right? As in the case with Michael Brown, and then they took the shoes and shut down some of the local sneaker stores, right? So that's what we do, right? That's the fake outrage, because at the end, nothing transformatively changes. So we can look through history and we see another one murdered, and in our community, right, it gets burned down, it gets looted. There's a riot, right? The police are called in, tear gas is shot. So there's a formula to it all, right? And so what I said is, hey, stop it. Stop the nonsense now, because we've seen it all. And one of the truest comments that came in as I was getting ready to go to bed after that was by Mark Duncan. He said, actually, what Eric says makes perfect sense. He said, it's the same movie. He said, number one, racism caught on camera. Number two, person dies at the hands of law enforcement. Number three, riot and protest ensue. Number four, politicians apologize and express outrage. Number five, 3 solid weeks of media attention. Number six, story peters out and no one single law or policy changes. Number seven, we go back to sleep. Number 8, repeat. That's it. That's it. So let us be honest, guys. Let us stop it. See, the reason we don't move forward is because we put ourselves in circles of people who stroke us and try to keep us comfortable. I'm not here to make you comfortable. That's not why I spend 2 hours every day. I spend 2 hours here every day trying to provoke accountability, right? And so, Vincent, when you talked about, well, who's accountable for all of this? Well, at the end of the day, and we talked about this on the show, we are, right? Because all of those people who are installed in those places, guess who put them there?
We did.
We did.
By our vote or our non-vote.
We did. Right?
That's right.
So when we talk on this show about the fact that we don't value our vote, that we don't vote our interests, so now we're out tearing up Minnesota. Right?
Just like we tore up Michigan.
Just like we tore up Michigan, right? We tore up all these different places, right? But then when it comes time to vote, so now is that our interest? Do we finally have an interest in not being abused, not being murdered and slain? Is that finally, is that our interest?
That's our interest.
No, it ain't our interest yet. See, our interest is in protesting. Our interest is in fake outrage. See,
throwing rocks at the cops.
I want to be.
No. Hey guys, our interest is in living. Now we can get on to what black folks need to do, but let's be clear. Right now, what black folks are saying is, I want to live, and I want you to stop. And they think, we want you to stop killing us randomly because you feel like we don't deserve.
Right.
To
okay.
live.
So wait a minute, Farrakhan. So I want to go back.
Farrakhan, I agree with you, but let me add in the simple fact that not only do I want to live, but I want to feel that my son is safe.
No. But no. Stop. See, I don't even want to do that anymore. Right. I want to get to this. So Farrakhan, if we understand first what the true soul of America is, so you go to the very people who make up, right, this brutal.
You said the key word. You don't even have to say any more, Eric. You said the key word or two words. If we understand.
Right.
We don't understand the soul of America yet.
That's my point. And so if you don't understand,
we believe that the soul of America, that every man is free and given certain rights and liberties, and we should have them. We believe that that's the soul of America.
That's the heart. That's the.
Don't step on what he said.
See, but not the one that says human beings in America that have brown skin are now 3/5 of a human being.
Correct.
The soul of America is that.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Oh, Farrakhan, before we go into the 3/5 rule, let's go into the true meaning of the 3/5 rules and not the bastardized version of the 3/5 rule. The 3/5 rule was political because the Southern slave masters used to count each slave as a vote. So then they said that's where they came up with the 3/5 rule.
Right, we understand that. I want to move on quickly, right? So we understand this. So here, I'm saying, look, when we're now talking about the soul of America, I want to be clear where I'm going with this, guys. So when I said right now with this fake outrage, we're fighting in the black community about which races to put into the White House. Come on. I want you to see, let's stay with it. So while we are caught in our feelings right now about how racist America is, we are fighting amongst ourselves about which racist is best to put in the White House. Come on. Now, and so when I say that I'm following other people who are saying, no, none of this works for me because I understand the true soul of America. I understand it. And so people say, well, you need to vote for somebody. You got to vote for somebody. You got to be involved and you got to do no. Why? Because I understand the true soul of America.
Okay. So please enlighten us on the true soul of America.
We went through this already. Really?
No.
Really?
No.
Really?
Yeah, do it again, please.
Selfishness, right? Greed, right? Brutality, right? Rape, murder, pillage, right? Subjugation, right? The continued advancement of white supremacy. You want me to keep going? What do you want? What are you asking me for? Did I say anything that's not true so far?
No.
Okay.
But, I mean,
so do I need to go further? So wait a minute. So now wait a minute. So if I didn't say anything that's not true, and now what we have over here is a guy who says, I want to restore the soul of America. That's what he said. And so if what you're saying is I didn't say anything that wasn't true in describing the soul of America.
Yes, I didn't say that it wasn't true. What I was saying that it's not the soul of America in its totality.
Really? So when you drive down the street and you see what you see, when you see what you see, it is a manifestation of what? Of what? Of the true soul of America. It's what it is. Now, denial, that's what we are. That we don't want to believe that. And that is the abusive relationship that we're in. Where though you keep getting beat down, you still want to believe it loves you. It loves me. It says so right there. Look, read that. It says it does. But I'm going, but it's kicking you in the ass every day.
Well, then I have to exercise some tough love and kick back. But I do exercise some
No, and I
love
agree with you.
is a huge part
And
of it.
I agree with you in the kicking back. I agree with you 100%. And the kicking back says, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. But right now, what we are doing is we're fighting to determine which racist, right? The one who says, make America great again.
Big bro, I gotta ask. Did you just say you're leaving? Did you just finally come around to my side of the fence and say,
No, listen. I've said we need to destroy it. I've said that.
I think he just joined the code. You're gonna get the secret handshake later on.
Let's see if we can take this call. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hello, caller? Hello? Caller?
Hello, Mr. Eric. How are you?
1 second. I'm doing well. Go ahead, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so this is Jody. So let me clarify my position with regard to your post yesterday. I just said it was inappropriate. I'm not emotional about it, right? And I think that you should be a little more fair, and you're not talking about a government, right? You're talking about a sect. You have a problem with the Democratic Party. You won't talk about Trump. So your post yesterday was to say that black folks are emotional about the death of this young man, but they're going to vote another Democrat into office. Let's keep it real. Let's not make it appear like this is about you railing against the government. You're railing against the party, which is fine, right? I know that neither party is worthy of any of our support, right? But you'll then say Trump's not important. But both parties have been wickedly oppressive and
I've always said that.
Wait, let me finish what I'm saying, right? No, you say Trump's not important because your agenda is just to rail on a party, right? And I only
That's not
responded.
true.
And you can be right to rail on that party. Let me give further clearance, right? So you're right to rail on that party. That party has been horrific. Both parties have been. But that party, if that's the party you want to rail on this month, they have both been horrific. But okay, cool. What I said to you was inappropriate. Don't play politics, I said, on the death of this man, right? Because it's not political. Death is never political. Let's be honest. Racism isn't political. Racism is the face of America, not the face of the Democrats.
Oh, no.
Well, no, let her finish. Please, let her finish.
Please. I don't want to talk to you, right? I called to just clarify this conversation between Eric and I, right? I don't want to get into, like, the minutia and the BS. I'm clarifying why I said that to you.
Okay.
Not that I say that your opinion is wrong. Your opinion was inappropriate in that space for that black man's death because you're railing against an election in 5 months, and that man died.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Just like Eric Garner died. Wait a minute. But just like Eric Garner died, right? And everybody is likening this to Eric Garner. And then there was an election there around Eric Garner. So let us be clear about this, right? No, I let you talk, so please allow me. But I let you. Okay, I'll let you finish, and then I'll. Go ahead.
In the presidency, right? That's another thing, right? We couldn't have effectuated change in Eric Garner's community in the presidency. We can only do that locally, and so you and I most often agree that our problem is local government, right? That you don't talk about that in Newark, a Spanish cop chased down a black man in a car and murdered him, and the Spanish political garnering in Newark has cut all of you silent. But we want to rail against Minneapolis, right? We'll talk about that, right? I saw so many people from North New Jersey railing against the police department in Minneapolis, but fearful because of their local government to rail against the police officer in North.
Sure. No, now, if I can respond to some of this. Wait, no, Vincent, no, Vincent.
Either let Eric respond, or can I respond?
Yeah. Well,
sister, can you sister, now, sister,
Vincent, please, I don't want you in. Vincent, I don't listen, Vincent. Yeah, I don't need you to advocate for me. Jody, I would just like an opportunity when you're done to be able to respond to some of the stuff that you're saying.
All I'm saying is, I just wanted to clarify with you that I'm not the emotional black person who is fighting for the Democratic Party and or Joe Biden. Flying piece of trash he is, right? Trash. Don't ever think that I'm being emotional. All I was saying to you was not time and place. Let's not play politics on this one. That's all. That was my only point. I agree with everything you say. Everything you say. I even agree with your rail against the Democratic Party. I just said, not time and place. Not on that man's body, not on that man's death. Beyond that, we can have that larger conversation, then it would be a different conversation, but I'll let you answer first.
Okay. No, Vincent, no. Vincent, show some restraint. So Jody, what I tried to convey was this. Just like with what was his name, Michael in Ferguson, right? Mm-hmm. The gentleman in Ferguson, where people, Michael Brown, they tore that town up. They abused black store owners, robbed and pillaged their stores, right? Burned some of them down, right? And got emotional about that, about what occurred, and nothing fundamentally changed, right? So my post was to talk about the reality of the situation. Yeah, it's tragic that man lost his life, right? But there's a bigger thing in it, and the bigger thing is this, right? So when I look and I see Al Sharpton, so you say don't make it political. But when I see all of the people who are coming around this, and I see all of the media that is politicizing it, what I'm saying is this: black folk, you're in your feelings right now, and they're pushing this agenda to get you fired up about this. And now if you look there and you look at the riots and you look at the tear gas that is being poured into the crowds of people, this is all being ginned up. Right? And so now I'm saying, what is your interest in this moment while the scab is off and it's and it's as raw as it can be? What is your agenda? And now is your agenda, because we're looking at it, and even Amy Klobuchar. So you say don't make it political. Amy Klobuchar put her name in it, right? Why? For political purposes. Joe Biden put his name in it. Why? For political purposes. So you say, Eric, don't make it political. And what I'm saying to black people is this: They understand how you emotionalize shit. And what they're doing now is what they do best, is manipulating your emotion. And so if your interest, as Farrakhan said, is to preserve life and say, stop killing us, then we have to look at those who support policies that keep killing us.
There you go.
We would have to do that locally.
No, well, no, not just locally, but wait a minute.
Right? If we're going to do this, right? If we're going to have a real long-term plan, right? A long-term plan to save our communities, because these are our communities, right? We got to go to the community first. We have to be, that railing against politics has to be locally, right?
No, because they vote locally and nationally at the same time.
Listen, hold up.
Yeah.
Joey, here's somebody from North is trying to say something. Someone that's in North right now is trying to say something. Can it be said? Okay? So all I want to say is, if you have knowledge that the police inappropriately killed someone in the city of North recently, please share it. Because I'm telling you,
been shared.
people in North don't know that right now.
This is like ridiculous, right? That's been shared. That video came out a year ago, right? I hear nothing.
No, because I'm trying to tell you, I've never heard of it, Joey.
You never
I've never heard of whatever video you're talking about.
I know what video she's talking about.
I don't know anybody.
And we talked about it on the, wait a minute.
My barbershop.
Wait a minute, I know,
had a
wait a minute.
conversation about the police killing somebody in North recently. So I don't know what you're talking
It
about.
wasn't recent, right?
No, it wasn't recent. I know the video, and we played it. Wait a minute, but we played. But Jody,
Spanish police officer
no, Jody,
actually ran down
that's
the
not
car.
right.
He jumping out of police cars, jumping into
That's right.
other police
We
cars.
played the video on the show. We played it. We played the video.
Like he was in a wild west.
Right, we played the video.
There actually is an investigation. Listen. So Farrakhan, let me actually school you on it, right? There was an investigation.
It's not schooling me. I'm asking you for the information. You don't gotta talk it slick. It's not schooling me. I'm telling you I don't know something. So you ain't schooling me. Just tell me
what happened. A Spanish police officer in
what's his name?
I don't know his name because I'll research it and put it in the frame, right? Eric knows what I'm talking about.
We played the video on the show.
I ain't heard about it. I'm just telling you, I haven't heard about it. And it's not even sounding familiar to me.
Police officer.
But I want to know it. Because if you're telling me that that's happening, we can do it.
Could you get the video and put it in Eric's post?
If you can tell me what to look. If you can just give me the information and the direction to go, I'll find out myself, and I'll go that direction. Right?
I'm actually.
That's what I'm saying.
Pulling it up, and I'm pulling it up for you, right?
Thank you, right? Just let me know.
You ready? His name is Giovanni Crespo. Jovany Crespo. Crespo.
Right.
He was actually indicted. Right? For shooting a fleeing driver.
Right.
So it was really just a stop sign. The guy went through a stop sign,
right.
And that turned into a video where he actually was jumping out of one police car, jumping in another one. We heard it.
No. But what I'm trying to get to. So no. Listen.
I can't hear you. Hold on. Could you let her get the name again? Say it again.
His name is Giovanni Jovany Crespo, right? You want to know the date it happened?
Come on, guys. I don't want to do this on it. Vincent, please, look. I don't.
Right,
what I'm trying to get to is this.
You guys can look it up later, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. He was suspended without pay.
Right.
Right. This happened in January.
Right.
He wasn't indicted until May of last year. We're actually at the anniversary of it, right? We saw strong video. I can actually talk because they're letting me out of the job for a second. So we saw a strong video where he chased a car down. He chased this car down. He was jumping in and out of police vehicles.
Right.
As he chased this car down. When he was shooting the whole time, right? On a crowded street,
right.
And blah, blah, blah.
Right.
When he finally caught the car, he unloaded in this car.
Right.
He was indicted. Here's where it gets really funny, right? He was indicted, right, in May. Then the Spanish act of the North Ward actually, Annabelle Ramos, they actually had functions to raise money for
Sure.
this police officer's
Right.
expense
So
card,
what I'm trying
right?
to, this all happened, and
All
we
of
should
the
put.
black folks in Newark, let's make it real, right? Like there was people on the tread last night talking about Minneapolis. Those people who will say bad cop and injustice, right? They will. You can go through some of the most powerful black people in North that do the Black Power thing, and they've never mentioned it because the mayor couldn't mention it, right? That's local. Donald Trump, Joe Biden can never make a change in that space, right? That is local. In Minneapolis, listen, Amy Klobuchar was the last politician. Listen, Joe Biden's going to be very cautious about how he says or how he defends this action because he needs that vote, right? That Amy Klobuchar vote. And so I'm saying to you, so we know that, right? We know this country. That's why I don't like to play politics in this space. This is not about, this is, as you say, Eric, this is about the soul of America. Not a specific party, not a specific politician. Yes, Eric, they are the manifestation of this situation, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, about the same age. So we are actually seeing the manifestation of this horrible America. All I was saying is, let's not do that. Let's not talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump on this one, because it is our local government that are predominantly black people running these governments, right? That have sold out of people. And here's the raw fact about it, right? If y'all don't respect y'all own, why the hell should we?
So now,
that's on a national level, right?
So
why would the government at the highest powers have to respect the people that don't even hold their own damn people accountable for those behaviors?
Right.
So all I was saying, Eric, it was so not
to
Joe, say that your messaging was wrong, but your messaging is off.
Right. So Jody, okay, I just want to be able to respond. So if you listen holistically to what I say, right? I say firstly, I'm leaving the president ballot blank and voting down ballot to get our issues addressed. So to the very point that you just made, that's why I'm saying, why are we fighting over these two racist folks for the White House? Vote down ballot. Wait, Jody, we can't do this, right? So, Jody, but I can't do this, right? I can't allow you to come on and filibuster the show. If you want me to be quiet and let you talk, I'll do that. And I did for 5 minutes. And then when I go to try to address some of the things, you interrupt me, so I can't address it. So I can just put my mic down and let you finish out the show, or we can have a conversation. Okay, so what I have said on countless occasions is it all happens at the local level. I say that all the time. I also have said that when people say, well, who are you going to vote for, Eric? I say, I'm leaving it blank. And in fact, I cite Eddie Glaude in his statement, where he says, I'm not completely abandoning, but I'm leaving the presidential ballot blank, and I'm voting in these other areas. And I'm encouraging people to vote down ballot, where you can effectuate change in your community. And when Vincent and I talk about it, we talk about failed leadership in terms of Cory Booker. We talk about failed leadership in terms of Donald Payne. We talk about failed leadership in terms of these black mayors. We talk about all of that. And so when I'm saying, so in the middle of all of that, when we should be focusing on that, we've allowed the media to get us in a fight and in a tizzy over a presidential election that involves two racists. That's my conversation. So I don't know that you and I are saying anything differently.
A little bit.
I'm sorry?
Push back a little bit.
But if I could,
Donald Trump is not important because you're railing against the Democratic Party.
Right, and the reason
that's not important to admit because my argument to you is you can't leave him out of the.
I don't leave him out,
you can't simply say,
sister.
We don't have to talk
but
about
sister,
this
the reason I listen, sis, I don't think that. Listen, I think that I want to talk to you, not at you, right? I think that we're on the same page. Look, black people, and the reason I say Donald Trump is over there, and I posted what Eddie Glaude said. He said it's easy to talk about Donald Trump. That's the easy conversation. The harder conversation is that, wait a minute, let me finish, and then I'll give it all to you. The easy conversation is Donald Trump. The harder conversation is having the courage to talk about the abusive relationship that black people are in with the Democratic Party. That is the conversation that I want to have. How my people are in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. So I don't want to talk about that guy. My people are being abused. Abused by this party.
My argument to you would be that to me, that doesn't quantify the moment, right? Because guess what? We're not in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party.
Sure we are.
We're in an abusive relationship with the United States of America's government.
No, no. Look,
I'm not going to.
I'm not going to debate that.
Folks, right? We have black folks. Let's be honest. We have a sect of black folks who harshly defend Donald Trump. That is a psychosis, as you say, as well. We have an abusive relationship with this government who has never stood up to the tenement of its own constitution.
No, you want to know? Let me describe the abusive relationship.
And right now, let's be honest, right? Donald Trump, I thank him for this, for bringing it and putting it in our faces. So, hey, black folks, if you didn't think it still exists, if you were living in your cozy world, feeling like this didn't exist, Donald Trump exposed it in its infancy that this exists.
I don't disagree with you. I wholeheartedly.
And he did it in a very, very racist and very strategically racist kind of way. His what we call dumb. What I like to look at him and laugh because he's like comedic relief for me because I laugh at the fact that he has done such a strategic job of saying, and it's okay, white people, to be racist. To me, that is much more damaging than Joe Biden could ever be. Joe Biden could barely formulate a sentence without a flubber, right? But we have somebody that strategically and helpfully by the white supremacists of this world, initiating a messaging that says it's not only real racism, but it's okay to be racist in this country. And we'll support you.
Okay, allow me to address this, right? So here's what I see. And I'm reading the comments in the thread. Here's what I see. You got two killers, right? One is skillful with a shotgun, right? So yeah, it just leaves your whole insides hanging out. And the other one is more skillful with a butcher knife. But they're both gonna kill you. And then that's all I'm saying. So you look and say, well, the way that Donald Trump kills us is more brutal than the way that the other ones kill us. I'm saying they both are killers. And we know that. We know that by the metrics that measure where black people are. Now, in terms of government or Democrats, well, look, when you've got a governor in New Jersey who says, I can't win without the black vote. In fact, I can't win without the black women vote. And then after he gets it, he does what every other Democrat governor did. He says, stomps on your neck. And then we still embrace him, and he believes that we can. And then he's got a lieutenant governor who's going to come and going to tell us how good he is for us. That's Stockholm Syndrome. When you can look and see that under Democrat and Republicans, black people are doing worse than they were doing 50 years ago. But he can go down to the firewall of black people, and then those black people embrace him, and he's got nothing to offer them that is going to fundamentally change their circumstances. That is abuse. Because by every metric we know that they have, just like that man in Minnesota, America has had its knee on our neck and we're saying we can't fucking breathe. But then we run behind him to a goddamn fish fry and we vote for him. And so when Charlemagne stood there, like Farrakhan said, see, because he wasn't black. He wasn't in that abusive relationship. He's not suffering from that psychosis. So when he pushed back and said, no, I need to know what you got for me. I don't want no fish, no hot sauce. I want you to talk to me about how you cook your collard greens. Then what did he say? Well, you're not black. See, because every other black person who suffers from this psychosis falls in line. And you didn't do that, Charlemagne. And that's why, for me, that is a more dangerous situation, because it shows the Willie Lynch letters, it shows the miseducation of the Negro all worked. You see, so over there, that guy, I'm less concerned about him. I'm looking at my people who are in an abusive relationship.
Am I going to sit up there and deal with? Or is non-voting the entire answer? When non-voting, we know historically leads to the same oppressor being reelected.
No, and so this is where I answer my sister's question. I'm not saying don't vote. Now I'm back to what Jody said. I'm saying I'm voting down ballot. I'm going to try to deal with, and I'm saying to the people in Minnesota, vote down ballot. Deal with that shit that's going on right now. I'm saying here in New Jersey, make sure you vote down ballot. Deal with our fucked up U.S. senator. Deal with our fucked up Congress people. Deal with them. But they got us in misdirection, arguing about two races.
Hold on, guys. You know what just happened? When black people in a discussion, right, think we can't find a common ground or medium to work off of, we've just continuously throwing out our personal concepts, never agreeing on a method forward. The problem is this. Why are we looking to even vote down ballot when what we should be looking to do is raise our children and this next generation of politics to come and then
I think we could do both.
Because, let me finish. Because if we keep voting down ballot, skipping this guy or that guy every now and then for whatever reason, what ends up happening is we are still upholding that system. The problem is that even our most successful black politicians, our most successful black leaders, they're not putting anybody in, like you always say, Eric, you know, who are they raising up to take their spot?
You're right.
And we're not doing that, right? We're not doing that. So what ends up happening is we're going to look at the ballot and we're going to see a bunch of sorry crackers and sorry black folks for options. We have not created, and that's what Joe Kennedy did. When he said, "I'm gonna raise me up some politicians," and that's what George Bush, right?
So that's why, honestly, I agree with Farrakhan, right? So, I don't think when you talked about the school board, right? So, lately I've been seeing a lot of black folk talking about co-op homeschooling for their kids, as opposed to making the system that is ours work for ours, right? My response to that is always, my baby ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Baby don't have time for experiments.
Yeah.
My baby needs this system that my people died and put their life on the line.
Yeah.
She needs that to work,
yeah.
right? I had to give someone the analogy, because here's the problem, right? And I hate to always go back, but this is really what it is, right? Martin Luther King wasn't a politician. Malcolm X weren't politicians. They were advocates in the community, right? But they made policy change, right? We failed on that. Instead of policy changes, we say, oh, the system doesn't work. So let's go experiment on our kids. And I'm going to send my baby to someone's living room and let them take some experiments with time, so that her life gets less and less in quantitative and qualitative spaces. It just keeps going down, right? No, I think we should rail against a system. I do believe in that, right? I do believe that system has to work for our kids, right? But That is the difference, Farrakhan, right? I teach my daughter that there's a system that's failing you. And I'm raising you to rail against that system, because what we have now, this leadership we have now, is failing us. And if more parents and more folk don't decide that we now have to build a new group of children that rail against that system, then we will always be behind the 8 ball.
But I talk about that too,
guys,
sis.
this is such a good conversation now, and I'll call you back. But I'm sitting at my desk at work. I gotta go to work, and I'm listening. Love you, Eric.
I love you too, sis. You know I do.
All right, babe.
Be
Bye.
good. Go ahead, Vincent.
Okay, well, here is my entire take. If we could get back to it. Once again, yeah, you're right. The reason that these officers have this ability to hunt down black people and kill them is the simple fact that, it's supported by the administration. It's supported by their chiefs. It's supported by their mayors. It's supported by their congressmen, and it's supported by their senators.
Keep going up the ladder.
Oh, okay.
Keep
And it's
going up the
supported,
ladder.
and it's supported by and emboldened by the president. So we need to go down and eliminate this.
Hello, caller.
Hey.
1 second.
You don't sit up here with cancer and say, well, I'm going to wait 4 more years to see what it's going to do. Then, no, you get it out.
Right. We got a caller. Caller, go.
Hey, man, all politics from your first breath and them issuing Social Security card to your last breath, how far you going to be buried is all politics. Everything is politics. So when we say we can't politicize something, it's not rational. Can I finish my thought, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought I muted. I'm talking to...
But I want to get to the soul of America. Our national bird is the bald eagle. The bird got a left wing. The bird got a right wing. Our left wing is the Democratic Party. Our right wing is the Republican Party. But our vote goes down into the belly of that beast, right? So when people say, "Oh, you gotta, you can't politicize things," you can't do this, and we getting that gut feeling now that we down here in the soul of this thing, and this thing is starting to rot, and we recognizing that damn, the bird's gonna fly whether we survive or not. Our goal has to be we got to survive. We can't be like, all right, which one? I'm gonna fight with the left wing and I'm gonna fight with the right wing, and shit. Both of them got to fly. So when we start talking about, we can't politicize, or I don't like politics. If we don't make decisions about who's going to be our political leaders, or we just let this thing go the way it's going, people are going to make decisions about us. So, yeah, those police out there, that's their politics. The people that stood there and filmed it and stood there and watched this man's life go away, that's politics. That's politics. So when we say we're not going to take part in it or don't politicize it or this or that, no, this is all politics.
Mike, listen, when we talk about white supremacy and we talk about, you can't think about white supremacy as being a passive thing. It was gained through brutality. And so when we look at the two instances, the one we talked about yesterday, the woman in Central Park said what? I'm calling the police. I'm calling men with guns and telling them that a black man has threatened a white woman because of how she has been conditioned to understand her privilege and understand the soul of America and how it views black people. That then translated in Minnesota, where in a cavalier way, right? And the symbolism is there. This white man had his knee on the neck of a black man.
Yeah.
I want you to understand that
Looking at
symbolism.
people, knowing what he was doing, looking at people in their face, knowing what he was doing.
With his hand in his Mike, with his
knee is so symbolic.
Mike, with his
Well,
hand,
He
with
had
his
his knee on
hand in
his
his
neck,
pocket,
and the man was handcuffed.
with his
and
hand.
then he lied
No.
and said that the man resisted.
No, I'm not talking about. Right, that's something different. I'm talking about the picture. 1,000 words. His knee on the neck of a black man. He had his hands in his pocket and didn't have a fucking care in the world. Not a care in the world. So, 2016, we protested. Black Lives Matter. They said what? No, they don't. No, they don't. And here we are now, right? Here we are. We symbols, right? T-shirts. I can't breathe. They said that don't matter. That man said it how many times yesterday? Or the other day? How many times did he say it? Don't matter. And so I'm saying, and it is.
We got the videotape of the black man running from the cop and killing him.
It is the politics. It is the very politics that is driving the security of white supremacy that marginalizes black lives. See, and until we confront that, and yes, I believe on the local level, on the state level, we need to deal with it, right? The governors, the congressmen and women, the state senators, the U.S. senators, the mayors, the council people, all of those. We need to deal with all of that. But in the middle of that, in the middle of us grappling with dealing with that, they have us fighting over which white supremacist, which racist is better for us. And that is the narrative through these feeds on Facebook owned by black people.
And it's a great part of why we're paralyzed. Our analysis, like Farrakhan said, we're paralyzed because we're analyzing something, and the man was laying there in even fighting for his life, he's saying sir and talking in a way that he should. It's just, it tears your heart out just to listen to him, but he's still calling the guy an officer. He's
Mike,
no officer.
Mike, do you think? Mike.
Here is the underlying racist, systematic, institutional thing. The police officer and the white woman both said the exact same thing. They feared, in fact, all of the cops
Well, we know
said the
this.
exact same thing. They feared for their life.
Right, but we
against
already
the
know
black-
this, right? So we already know that that's the go-to. We know that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying
the
the
go-to.
question I'm asking you is this: have we had enough?
I've been had enough. What are you talking about?
Listen, thank you guys for tuning in. I know we're after
All right.
the show. I'm eagerly waiting to see what transpires there in Minnesota. But it's just not Minnesota. That's just it's just the latest one, right? Are we waiting for the next one? Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll read the comments. I'll try to respond to them if I get a chance to. Vincent, Jody, I love you. And one of the things that I do love about this platform is that we can have these impassioned conversations and end them with, "Hey, I love you." That's important. Thank you guys for tuning in.